Something just seemed off. That is the general consensus from a lot of people who were watching that fateful afternoon when Trump stood before that crowd in Butler, Pennsylvania, and all of a sudden all hell broke loose. Something just didn't feel right. It didn't seem like what we were watching was authentic. Well, they have the goods now. And believe it or not, I think Donald Trump knew and tried to tell people. Remember this statement that he made? They're not really after me. They're after you. I'm just in their way. He wasn't the target. He wasn't the target. You were. Now, this is something that I can't really talk about here on YouTube, but it goes all the way back to the Vietnam War. I'm sure I'll be like, wait a minute, hold on. What do the Vietnamese, what do the Chinese have to... There are sources coming out now giving up information about a very powerful mind control weapon that the Chinese have. And they are putting it to the test. Now, that's about all I can say, truthfully, here on YouTube. But we do have a brand new video just posted about an hour or two ago over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, where I can take the gloves off. And as a former MI warfighter myself, I can lay it all out for you. They've been working on this for a long, long time. This mind control weapon, where they can make people do things they wouldn't normally do. And I think that's what we saw. It was somewhat of a dry run, so to speak, for a much larger event that's coming. But if you'd like to join us over there and see the video that we just posted, it's a 30-minute video. I'll warn you, you're going to have to take some time, sit down, and absorb it. Because it's not for everybody, but it's only $1 per month. And if it's not for you, fully refundable first 90 days. And if you sign up for an entire year, it's even less than $1 a month to have access to the entire catalog and library of psychological operations videos that we have done going all the way back to 2018. 6 years, hundreds of videos for $1 a month. If I could make it a dime a month, I would. They won't let me. They won't let me make it cheaper. I want it to be accessible to anyone who is interested in understanding the tactics and techniques of psychological operations warfighters. There was a man from China who visited Mar-a-Lago. There was then a woman busted for trying to get in. Another man turned away who said he had evidence. And even the leader of China himself have all been to Mar-a-Lago. Now, this is part of how this game works, these new weapons. It's subtle. But I think Mr. Trump even had some indication that there were some very bad actors. Something was afoot and he knew it. And I dug this up, which I thought was strange. Trump tweets denial of Rachel Crooks. Rachel Crooks accusation. Rachel Crooks. I wonder if... Nah, you wouldn't think. But there is another story going on right now that is really messing with people's minds because they're getting emotional about it and not thinking clearly. Second biological male beats female boxer. And people are likening it to a new Olympic event being domestic violence. It's an insult and a slap in the face to anyone who's ever been a victim of it. These are two people wearing gloves, wearing headgear, getting in a ring, knowing full well who the other person is. Now, the one that people have all their noses been out of joint about, was this Algerian. And this other woman, I guess from Italy, gets in the ring and she gets hit one time, once again, with the glove, wearing headgear, doesn't get knocked down. The guy doesn't sit there and pummel her. Or I guess I should say, apparently this is not a guy, but apparently people are saying it's a biological male. however you want to look at it, the person in red didn't sit there and pummel the person in blue. It was one punch, and the woman in blue quit. Just quit. And all of a sudden, it's the end of the world. I watched it. It was a statement that, now look, I'm not for men in women's sports, but you have to remember something about the Olympics. The Olympics was a man's purview for a long time. The Olympics was a man's purview for a long time. Women insisted on being allowed into the men's arenas. And if you're upset about this, adult, full-grown adult from another country in Italy, having this issue with this other full-grown adult from Algeria in the Olympics, how about we worry about things a little bit closer to home? Catholic Church should allow, you ready for this? And this goes on every day in America, all across this country, and it is the most horrible thing I have ever seen. Co-ed wrestling in high school. That's right. Young men, young women, right as they're becoming adults, throwing on skin-tight singlets, getting out onto a mat and wrestling, I guess for lack of a better term. Boys and girls with parents sitting around watching. It is all over YouTube, millions, tens of millions of views. And not a peep from Fox News. No outrage from anyone. Nobody trying to stop it. And this could be stopped because it's here and it's high schools. And people could say, look, I'm not going to have my kid. No way. I don't know what I would be more horrified about, whether it was my son or whether it was my daughter. If it was my son, I'd tell him, look, forfeit. Forfeit. Do not get out there. There's no way to win this. And if it was my daughter, I honest to God don't know what I would say. And this is the picture I'm showing you here isn't AI. It's from a Midwest Wrestle, 146,000 subscribers. And you should see which ones of the videos are getting the millions of views and imagine why. But nobody says a word about this. Right here in America. Nothing to do with the Olympics. Who cares about the Olympics? I'll say it again. It was an Italian woman and an Algerian man, full-grown adults, wearing headgear, wearing gloves. She got hit once and quit. Now, I'm not making the point that, generally speaking, the Olympics were men's for the vast majority of history. And women insisted on being allowed into that ring, into that arena. They insisted on it. And now, having insisted on being allowed to be in the Olympics, which were for men, they wish special accommodation and that it only be other women, and that this particular individual, I'm not sure how the machinations are, what the rules they have are, but the point of it is this. It's an Italian woman and it's an Algerian individual, I guess I'll just say, in the Olympics with, like I said, full-grown adults. Absolutely new. This is not an American event. This is not an indictment of anything going on in America. I couldn't care less, to be truthful. And apparently, from what I understand, this boxer, this individual in red that they're saying, didn't pass the whatever, gender test, all this kind of stuff, apparently has gotten whooped a couple of times, more than a couple of times, by a few women boxers, apparently. From what I understand, I'll have to look and see if I can find those events. But this wasn't a pummeling. The woman, the Italian, the one on the right, the one in blue, got hit one time. Got hit one time, and apparently there's some other one. But once again, it's Olympic boxing. It's not Mike Tyson versus a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. It's Olympic boxing where it's about points. Very few, very, very few people ever get knocked out in Olympic boxing. It's a giant bore fest. It's a jab fest. But put all that aside, this is horrible. And it's on YouTube with no restrictions. Which, as a YouTuber, for me, I get demonetized all the time because I mention this in passing or that in passing or some girl in her underwear over there or whatever, some girl in a bikini on the beach or some ridiculous story. This is... I can't even put into words that I can use how awful the idea of this is. You would think it would be common damn sense for this not to go on truly at any age. I mean, we didn't see, there was even the MMA, which is totally fake, had a women's division and a men's division, not the MMA, pardon me, the WWE, used to be called the WWF way long time ago before the World Wildlife Foundation got their nose bent out of joint and they had to change the name to WWE. And anyway, the Hulk Hogan whole fake wrestling thing, professional wrestling. At least they had a men's and a women's division. These are high school kids. Seriously, what the hell? When we fix this in America, then I suppose we can go on to being outraged about full-grown adults in other countries and their choices. To equate this with domestic violence is just so unbelievably myopic. And I'll say this again, and you can look it up. Apparently, the individual in red has gotten into boxing matches with other women and lost before. So, say what you want. Have whatever opinion you want. It's two full-grown adults with headgear on, with rules and giant padded gloves and a referee. If you're going to equate that, and then one hits the other one time, and that person quits, you're going to equate that with domestic violence? I can't help you then. That's a level of emotionalism that's almost beyond anything I could address, but bigger stories, more important things, but it was all over the media today. It's unbelievable. Join us, Florida Mucky Patreon channel. Love to have you. Trust me, it's going to be one of them videos you're definitely going to want to see because it does. It goes all the way back to Vietnam. It goes all the way back to Vietnam. God bless. Pray for each other. Pray for me. I'll pray for you. Lift each other up. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.